One. We should be live.
So, what's up, everyone? It's me, Maiev, with Binzy, Disco, Panda, and our boy Alex, who would be showcasing us how he made the sanctuary levels for Rune Sanctuary. And yeah, it's going to be really nice. We're really happy to have Alex here because if you guys recall that we've shown some previews of the levels that Alex created in the previous weeks and on our tweets. Yeah, so Alex is here to talk about it. Also, we'll be talking about some crypto news and our usual giveaway.
Yes, sir. But first, well, I guess even before that, Benzie, can you move? I guess it would be a little bit closer to the camera, or would it be a little bit farther away? I'm not sure, but there is black bars above your head and below your body. But first, right before the stream, we had some interesting topic of the Steam Deck. Let's talk about that a little bit. What do you guys think about the Steam Deck?
I think it looks interesting if you like to play older games that are lower powered. It can't manage anything modern unless you're streaming off it, in which case there are other devices available. You can do that on your phone. So I think it's quite a niche market. My tablet can probably run the similar sort of games to that, and then I get a slightly larger screen. I can connect a controller to it. You don't have the convenience of sitting there in handheld mode. But again, on the very rare occasions I personally do that, I would just attach a controller to my phone and using one of those grips and do it that way. Have an actual Xbox controller.
Are you able to use it like a mini PC, like connect it on a monitor or a TV, and then use like a different controller?
I think so.
Yeah, you are.
Oh yeah. So that is yeah, because it just got released here, although the price is like 30% more than what it should be. But yeah, looking into it at the moment, and
Yeah, I've seen people
convenience,
connect their mouse and keyboard too.
the convenience of having it on having all like my Steam games on a device where I won't have to purchase again. That's a selling point for me.
Yeah, so I think, I've seen a lot of like favorable reviews of the Steam Deck, or a lot of people seem to be very interested in it. To me, it definitely doesn't fit my needs for gaming. I never like think it's like, oh, I want to play I want to play a PC game in handheld mode. That usually doesn't happen, with the exception of games like maybe Genshin. I think it could be pretty nice for something like Genshin, just because like I think Genshin is essentially a mobile game anyways, and it will probably play a lot better with the controller, and it'd be nice to play that in bed. But outside of games like that, I really don't. I'm not a big Steam Deck believer. I get kind of confused when I look at Linus Tech Tips, and they talk about the Steam Deck like every other week, and I just don't really get the hype for it. But I guess there's I guess I'm a very small minority of the demographic of gamers, so.
Yeah, that's one thing that I wish that you could if you could play like games from other mobile devices like like you mentioned, like Genshin. It would be really good. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
Alex,
so
about the
Yeah,
keyboard.
I can see the use case for things like Stardew Valley, things where it's 2D or really simple. But the problem is that those are already available on like the Switch, right? And they're not really highly intensive. So I agree with Disco in that you could play older games, and that's the best use case for it. But if you're looking for a higher quality gaming device, I think that like the Iano 2 and other portable devices that are shaped like the Switch but have higher specs coming out of China, those ones are. I would wait for those ones, to be honest. I think the progress over the next year is going to be great.
do you guys like Binzy's new voice?
Yes.
It's
I do.
crazy, right?
Much
Oh my
clearer.
god. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Wait,
crazy.
what happened?
Yeah, it feels like
I
we
think you
have
forgot to
people
turn on
in
your
the
voice
stream.
changer, Binzy.
Oh,
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting.
I'm
Yeah.
personally waiting for the Switch Pro. I think it's gonna land Q1 next year. So
Oh yeah, the Switch Pro. So what do you think is going to be changed about it? Just better specs, or it's not
Yeah,
going to be a new
probably
console,
for
right?
that.
Yeah, it's a new console,
Oh,
but will be backwards compatible, so it'll still use game cards. Whether they'll go up in memory, I think they'll have to kind of to accommodate higher resolution assets, and because people expect 4K gaming now. Obviously, it's not going to be able to push true 4K, even with kind of Nintendo style games. But I would suspect in order to have some sort of mobile battery life as well. So you're probably, looking at upscaled. It'll probably be full HD native resolution or capable of that sort of target, and then upscaling to 4K through, I don't know, checkerboarding perhaps, or just, I don't know, some sort of method. But that would be my suspicion. I think they just know that they need to up the kind of graphics. And yeah, because frame rates are poor. Especially I think following the feedback for the latest Pokemon game and the way that's kind of struggled with frame rates. It's clear that the Switch is aging hardware. It's been around for 4 and a bit years, maybe 5, and it was never powerful in the first place, which is fine for Nintendo because they never tried to compete on the hardware side. It's more about the fun games. And they've managed to get a few third-party releases on there, but third-party developers are really struggling to actually shoehorn games onto the platform, which is why it's not happening as commonly in terms of the bigger releases. Certainly, there's noise that they're complaining about how the Xbox S is underpowered, so you can only imagine what that would be like trying to then build something for the Switch as well, or do those conversions. So yeah, we got to see some more power, and I think Nintendo know that. Will they go all out and build a Steam Deck type machine? I doubt it. It'll be the same. Backwards compatible, I think, is what we've heard as well. So yeah, we'll see.
Okay, so when you say that it's a new console, you mean that essentially it's going to have new games that are not going to be compatible with the Switch, right? Because when I
That's the rumor,
Switch
yeah.
Pro, I think of it as like kind of like what was it, like was it the 3DS XL compared to the 3DS where they had the same games? It was just like a bigger and I guess quote unquote better version.
So I think what was rumored to be the Switch Pro ended up kind of being the OLED model that was released. But again, it's the same, essentially the same hardware, slightly better chipsets in there. I think, but it's not going to do much of a difference in performance. Again, because the games are coded to run on that kind of low spec device anyway. So yeah, it'll be an improvement. It won't be hitting out of the box because they still have a price target to meet. Being Nintendo, they're usually quite aggressive on pricing. But my understanding is, yeah, it'll be backwards compatible. I don't think forwards compatible wouldn't necessarily be supported. I think it is a brand new console, my understanding. However, it depends what Nintendo do, because lately all they do for a new console is just re-release the same series of games as they do for every console. Mario Party, Mario Kart, Mario Tennis, just work their way through the list. Zelda and all the others. So yeah, the new Zelda franchises were great. Are they developing new versions of that? I'm sure those teams move fairly quickly, considering the development timelines and shareholder needs for profits.
yeah, it's pretty common for Nintendo to do this. If you look at the Game Boy, Game Boy Advanced, the Wii, the Wii U, the what else? Yeah, the DS, the new DS, or the 3DS. It's pretty typical of them to re-release something and have like about 5 years later, but to not have compatibility for the new games, just because they know the performance is going to be so bad. But you can still play the old things, right? Like it's the same kind of hardware. You know you could play the new game on the old one, but they won't let you because they know the performance is going to be so bad that people will just, complain all the time, right? So, yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'm gonna buy it. Regardless of what happens, I'm probably gonna buy it. I'm probably gonna buy all the, Mario Tennis, Mario Kart, all of that stuff. I'm probably gonna buy it. I'll probably play it, a little bit here and there. Probably won't get my money's worth, but they got me.
I will probably end up doing the same.
Exactly, they
I'll
got
get
us.
peer pressured by the kids
Do
into
you
doing so.
guys want to play any Mario games?
I'm down for Mario Kart. I'm down for Mario. I've been trying to get you guys to play Mario Party forever, man. I'm so down for Mario Party.
Yeah.
The Mario Party with
My
me.
sister would be going home. She has a Switch, so I'll be
Okay.
with you guys.
Okay, maybe Mario Party on that I was gonna say Mario Party on the stream on the 30th. And I guess that is a good thing that I should note, is that we are not going to be streaming on Christmas Day, and we are likely not going to be streaming on New Year's Day either. Instead, we will be streaming on December 30th. That is going to be the day of the Rune Royale as well, and the conclusion of season 4 of Evolution. So catch us on December 30th. I guess we may or may not be playing Mario Party. I will try to talk everybody into doing it, but I guess no promises. That would be fun though. I love me some Mario Party. Okay, so I guess outside, we've been talking about some off-topic things. Let's get on topic. Disco. Crypto news for the past week. Let us know.
Yeah, so the audits that some of the crypto companies had put out last week that we talked about on last week's stream have been withdrawn by the auditing company. So they've actually walked away and deleted all records of all crypto audits they've done for this. So this is for Binance, Crypto.com, and KuCoin. Also in the process of getting an audit. They haven't actually put out a statement from what I'm aware of. So that, is of course quite something. No real comments about it from the usually very vocal leaders, apart from now coming out with statements of FUD. Binance do seem to have the bots out in force on Twitter, trying to pump out positive messaging and all of that kind of following. So yeah, quite some strange going on there. Things are still continuing to unravel, certainly a lot more scrutiny. Binance have also experienced a flood of withdrawals, with billions being withdrawn. Certainly, as we've said, I think for a few weeks now, if you do have your money on a central exchange, even if it is Binance, even if it is Kraken, Crypto.com, whoever it is, do consider self-custody or simply just cash it out, because there are some concerns, but they're potentially, the actual cash isn't there when we look at what FTX extracted out of the market, and all the other potential money laundering that's been going on. There have been Binance customers, I think, in the US or other places have been asked to deposit money through Silvergate Bank, or an account in the Seychelles, which hasn't been active or registered for over a year now. So yeah, there are some concerns there. It would also appear that there is possible commingling of funds between Binance US and Binance.com, which of course they have, CZ and Binance themselves have adequately stated are completely separate entities. However, when Binance US ran out of USDT and wasn't able to process withdrawals for several hours, they were able to do so when Binance.com entities did send them about 10 million USDT. So there are, potential concerns around that as well. Certainly some noise. They're under investigation for the setting up because from several interviews and other journalistic reports, it does look like they have been trying to set up banks in the US and use Binance US as a kind of clearinghouse, so that this is the place that all the regulators look at, so that they avoid looking at all the rest of the business, and just to kind of keep them at an arm's length. Similarly to what FTX US seem to have been doing with FTX, the wider worldwide company. So they're under close scrutiny around that. A lot of articles were searching and having a look into that. Certainly some concerns around funds. There's been some strange activity in terms of cross-chain swaps and burns, where burns seemingly haven't quite taken place. So that part, I think, is still needed some validation. There has certainly been delays if there was a burn due to take place, and that's about $3 billion worth. So we're not talking insubstantial amounts of money as well. So do kind of need to validate that a bit more. But yeah, certainly not looking great. Similarly, there's been some scrutiny around the BNB Beacon chain and the Binance Smart chain, and cross-chain transfers kind of between those, where they're written in different code languages. One is kind of based on Cosmos, the other one's based on Geth. And there is a wallet that has no transactions at all, or deposits into it, yet somehow does hold around 22 million BNB. So what that is in financial terms is a significant amount of money at whatever BNB is trading at the moment. Binance themselves also do hold somewhere between 2/3 and 81%, I think was the amount of BNB in existence. So they do control a large portion of that supply. There are said to be price points at which there are going to be quite significant liquidation cascades around about the $200 mark on BNB, because it's allowed to be used as kind of margin collateral on the site. So yeah, certainly again, a lot of scrutiny around there. I think these things will kind of develop over the week. We'll see kind of what responses happen around this as well, and we'll try and keep you updated. Of course, on the 30th, we'll mention if there's anything significant, and we often do in our chats anyway. So yeah, keep in the main chats, and I'll share anything if there's anything significant. So that's the week so far. Nothing's blown up yet. It is that period and that time of year where news is much easier to hide, because people are distracted with Christmas and then New Year's. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of these things do become a bit more public over the kind of holiday period. That is a common theme with news, or certainly the way media is controlled when people or companies want to try and stem the flow of news or control the release of it. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the next week or two, I think.
All right, thank you as always for the disco news. You're always on top of that. Would you say that the sentiment regarding crypto is perhaps still going down? It seems like I mean, I guess you did say that nothing has blown up, but it does seem like there's a lot of questionable things that are happening, things that maybe are cause for concern.
Yeah, I mean, it effectively seems like the entire industry is crooked, and potentially a lot of the prices are manipulated. We have seen instances of Binance in the recent months move, I think it was around $500 million out of cold wallets into the exchange, cycle back out, 538 million USDT or something, I think it was. And at the same time, BTC was coming out of their cold wallets, and then being placed back at much smaller amounts. So that, would indicate that they were just dumping BTC on the market to fill up USDT reserves. So who knows? And I think that there's certainly cause for concern, because whatever happens in a CEX is essentially just a database on their side, and there is no transparency, and of course that is against the entire concept of crypto and blockchain. And unfortunately, what's also likely to happen, and we've already seen as a reaction of FTX, is that regulators and lawmakers in country will use these crypto firms collapsing as reasons to legislate and heavily regulate and stifle some of the innovation in the blockchain industry, and certainly the basic need for privacy that should be a statutory benefit that everybody receives, just for being a person, and you should be able to have that individual privacy. My personal kind of view is that maybe as a result of CBDCs, layer 2 privacy solutions and possibly even native privacy solutions, but I think they're looking like they're trying to regulate those out already. Might see some sort of resurgence, but I think again, the kind of sentiment, as Alex said, I think it was Alex, around crypto at the moment is just kind of falling and dropping, and therefore there may not be enough traction to actually take advantage of those and to get them in front of enough people ahead of the larger implementation potentially of CBDC. So we'll see around that. If that doesn't trigger the next kind of bull run, then I'm not personally sure what the narrative would be. I'd like to think that would trigger a bull run in itself, ahead of the introduction of those kind of central bank currencies, because of the potential control and the need for privacy. But you don't know what those countries will do in terms of to try and prevent those kind of aspects picking up steam in the meanwhile. So we'll see. There's a lot of good development going on, at least. So hopefully there are solutions that are private for all. But we don't even know, if ETH itself is potentially going to last. I think it'll be quite interesting to see, what lawmakers make of the situation, with all the scrutiny on Gary Gensler, and how did he miss this? And he's meeting with FTX quite regularly. And again, because of the more public democratic donations, even though Sam did say, and there is evidence for donations to the Republican Party, which he said it was kind of equal in value. There is going to be quite interesting play out, I think, in the US around that. And the Republicans will certainly use that to their advantage, I think, in those kind of battles. So we'll see how that plays out. But that could essentially, result in scrutiny across wider things. And Gary Gensler has, said multiple times that he would consider Ethereum a security. There was a pre-sale. They've made it quite clear that during those pre-sales, and there's videos of Vitalik Buterin talking about, the potential for large returns on those investments because of the work that they're doing and the promotions around the coin that they're doing on the ICOs. So it's quite hard to argue that, there is also a large centralization of the currency as well. And now with a switch to proof of stake rather than proof of work, it's no longer a decentralized mechanism, in the way that Bitcoin is. And I think very much as a result, again, I'm no lawyer, legal advice or anything like that, but in my mind, that's a very clear distinction between Bitcoin and ETH, what it is or has now become. So we'll see. I mean, ETH itself, again, with the states ETH, you can't even withdraw that yet, and they haven't even coded that part. So again, it's just, feels more like tactics that just delay people selling and you wonder how much the insiders with the big bags have been dumping all that time as well. That did actually remind me of another poignant point to make around DCG. So it does look like they're also dumping a lot of things that are backing some of their ETFs. So that could have some sort of impact across the stock market. I don't know how heavily those products are subscribed to by financial institutions, but we certainly know there had previously been some interest in them. So again, you might see some pension funds and things like that who have got those in their portfolios, lose a bit of money as a result, or others. But yeah, there seems to be some selling there. No comments on that. That seemed to be triggered on the Friday when the markets are closed. It seems to be kind of from that point onwards, so possibly, to prevent, hopefully, that market reaction, or allow them to set their trades at the more current prices before that price falls on Monday morning. So it'll be interesting to see how the markets react tomorrow. Yeah, I think that probably does wrap it up for the crypto news then. Actually, good reminder.
Okay, cool. Well, just on the topic of the of US and the stock market and everything. So last week was, of course, both the inflation report and FOMC, as well as a rollover of futures contracts to the March. So there was definitely a lot of action last week. And of course, crypto did follow that as well during the inflation report, which I believe was reported to be lower than expectations. It was literally a roller coaster. You see, everything went up, and then everything just crashed down for the rest of the week. And I believe crypto did follow that. Right now, Bitcoin is at 16.8K. ETH is at just around 1.2K. Still kind of holding around the same area as we saw last week, but just a little bit lower. One more thing. Former President Donald did release, I believe, a NFT collection that, at least from what I saw, I didn't really look into it, but I believe it was sold out like really fast. So, I mean, just a little fun little thing to note, I guess.
There was around, I think it was $4.25 million.
Yeah.
Around that amount that I sort of quoted. However, there has also been some blockchain analysis on the kind of wallets and trading activity around that, and it would look like the Trump campaign or someone closely affiliated, just due to the amount of funds, had been buying up the floor of the collection, building up large amounts of that, and most likely based on NFT behavior, would then dump that. So if you do hold those NFTs, I haven't been checking the prices of that, but this was maybe 7-8 hours ago. I probably would be looking to sell.
Yeah, I cannot imagine that they would hold their value unless he becomes president again.
Not at all. And again, I wouldn't put it past him to coordinate the market manipulation, as is common in the NFT world.
On that,
we saw him do that previously, I think, didn't we? Oh, Ivanka did, yeah.
Yeah, she did the same thing, but her campaign flopped because she did exactly the same thing. She tried to raise the floor price, but nobody bought after that. So Trump did exactly the same thing, but for him it worked. For Ivanka, I think she came out on 0 or something like that.
I think didn't Ivanka they bought it back themselves just to kind of show that it would sell. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they bought it back themselves.
But not all of them. So
maybe it was a Trump one. So maybe it was a Trump one. There was a one of one, or a handful of collection.
Ivanka's collection flopped for sure. She tried to buy them herself. It was quite obvious, and nobody else bought after that. So that's what happened there. But probably Trump did exactly the same thing, but it worked.
Yeah.
Which is mental.
Yeah.
And not only that, but actually some of the artwork was just stock photos, like blatantly just stolen.
Oh my god, dude! The pictures, honestly, the art
still
was
had like the stock logo.
It's probably Upwork commissioned jobs, and the artist did whatever was easier for him. I don't think it was Trump saying, "Hey, do it whatever easier." He just hustled on the price, and he got what he paid for, most likely.
The cash. Well, yeah. Well, he still pulled in 4.25 million. Even if half
That's
of that
mental.
was his own.
Isn't he a billionaire
that's still
though?
a good million
I
or
mean,
two, isn't it?
Yeah, he's definitely no billionaire, but whatever.
is he not?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought he. I don't know.
No.
I don't really keep up with
On
him. But yeah.
paper,
He's as
he
much
is.
of a
But
billionaire as Kanye West is.
There you
Whatever
go.
else.
Oh man, we didn't even talk about him. But actually, we should probably avoid talking about him. To be honest, he's yeah. The things I saw about him. Yeah. We let's just move past. All right, let's move past that. Let's jump onto our main topic of the day. Alex.
yeah,
Alex is
I'll
here.
start.
He's gonna talk
And,
to us about Sanctuary level design.
If we can switch directly to the screen sharing, and then I'll
Yes.
start.
Yes, sir.
All
We
right,
can
so
now
it's
see your screen. You're good to go.
perfect. So it's not about how we did what we did. It's way more about the direction we want to go. So I spent a long while, trying to figure out what is good level design. Of course, this screen is just a joke. I'm not gonna go into definitions or anything like that. It doesn't matter. I don't even know the definition of level design. It doesn't matter. I just wanted to see what the best level design is out there, and if you can dial it down to some strong principles. The short answer is no. It depends on the game. It depends on the style. It depends on the artwork, on the lore. It depends on so many different things that it's not relevant. But I then said, what happens in the latest RPGs? I know about the old school RPGs. I know their flaws. I know what I liked. I know what I disliked and what I would do better. But then I said, let me try other games. Of course, I tried a lot of different games. I've looked at gameplay. I've tried them myself. But before all of that, I want to I want to iterate a really, really big disclaimer. Everything that I'm talking about, I'm addressing a typical market. It's not a typical market, it's a niche market. It's for the players that really enjoyed D2. D2 had a very specific level design. We liked it then. I don't think it would work again now, but that's something for later. I just want to say that if you like some very massive open world MMOs, what I'm going to say will not necessarily be for you. So just try to narrow it down to what D3 should have looked like. Maybe that will be a more on point on the discussion. So D3 definitely disappointed hardcore D2 players. That's a fact. It's all over the internet. So what should have D3 done then, and what should D4 do now in terms of level design? That would be a much better description. And in terms of market, this is an introduction for, is it worth pursuing that piece of the pie? And that's why I've slapped in some numbers here. Diablo Immortal has 13 million downloads, kind of irrelevant for us because that's a free-to-play game and it's mobile, but the number is huge, in my opinion. Diablo 2 Resurrected, this is the real number that matters a lot for us. Is there any nostalgia left in the market strictly for D2 players? And this number, 5 million, says definitely there is an abundance of nostalgia for D2 and whatever it successfully did. And can a small indie project take off when it has a good project? And the answer is definitely yes. It's hard to gauge number of players on games that had open beta like Last Epoch, but yeah, this is a round number and I think the numbers are good for the game itself. So I've played Path of Exile. I was an active Path of Exile player. I really liked the game, and then I started on December, Last Epoch, D2 Resurrected, Volson, and Van Helsing. On December, Last Epoch, Volson, and Van Helsing, I've played them strictly for the level design. I didn't pay attention to how much fun I was having other than the purpose of is it good level design or not. I've also looked at other games that I was convinced that there's no point in picking them up because I will not learn anything. My conclusions, strictly in terms of level design, is that modern ARPGs are beautiful. That's why I've posted some, and that's why I've drawn some screenshots. These are from my personal gameplay. These are moments where I said, "God damn it, this game is beautiful for an indie company." This is Last Epoch. I mean, honestly, this is all manual work. This is top level texturing for the resources it consumes, how the game felt. Honestly, I liked a lot of the ideas they had. In my opinion, this is the by far the most beautiful ARPG. Last Epoch, hands down for the design. So yeah, very good use of lighting. I really liked it. And this is World of Warcraft. I've introduced this screen here to emphasize a very important thing. Looks are important until you make the sell. So in my personal perspective, how good a game looks is important until you get the character to level 10 or something. And after that, it doesn't matter. You you won't have user retention just because the game is beautiful in an ARPG. Almost never. You will have a good game retention for good gameplay. At least with some exceptions, but yeah, World of Warcraft is proof that looks. I mean, high quality graphics are not a must, you know, in order to be a successful, but it is something that is expected if you look at the market.
Okay,
Paths are narrowed. Yeah, go Panda.
well, I was just gonna say, I feel like, I mean, at least from the screenshot of WoW, I don't really, honestly, that doesn't look terrible to me. I think a better example would be RuneScape. RuneScape, I think very clearly, I don't think anybody can call RuneScape to be a beautiful game. RuneScape is quite literally faceless characters, but it still is a very successful game.
They're successful because of all the community that was built around it.
Yeah,
That
the
grew,
legacy.
the legacy and the name and all the depth, and there's so much good work behind that it raises the quality. Even, I mean, WoW is not an ugly game by any means, but it would be very weird from my perspective to compare Last Epoch to WoW. There's no comparison in terms of quality directly. I'm not talking about style now. But yeah, it's a weird topic, but just wanted to say that looks can only get you that far, and level design is another thing that can only get you that far. A conclusion that I had after playing the last few games, it was kind of saddening for me, and I'll get into that later. Paths are narrow. That has a lot of different effects. You kind of see it on the map here, but yeah, it's just a straight line where you fight mobs. It helps with two things, having narrow paths. It helps you designing a beautiful scenery. If we had just the floor, imagine that this image is just a plaza and it doesn't have the edges here, it would be really hard to populate it with cool stuff. I've run into this issue and I've noticed it firsthand that if you do level design in this fashion and you have areas you cannot walk on, you have a lot more freedom to make a good looking game. That's first thing. And the second thing, the ambush feeling is amplified because there's a smaller area where the mobs can spawn. The mobs that you're gonna fight, they can spawn. So it gives you a better ambush feeling, right? I mean, even here you can barely see them after a corner. So these are mobs they're gonna fight. These are my spawns. But yeah, these guys are just over the corner. If this was an open area, if it's all floor, I would more easily see them. And yeah, you can again take a look at the map that the pathing is very simple. And this is Volson, I guess. I'm gonna get them mixed up for the simple reason that they're not memorable. I'll get that into later. something new that happened in ARPGs, and I think it's a trend, and it's a good one. I only have good things to say about this. It is that all the devs that create a good RPG, they take advantage of this depth perception at its height, right? You're on a suspended bridge here on top of roots, and yeah, below there's some beautiful scenery that you can see, and here again on the edge of the path you can see different elements that are they're just so they enhance the view, and honestly it gives a very good feeling to the game. And I've seen it done in D4. I've posted this screenshot because I love the contrast. The job done here it was hats off. I really liked it. Yeah, so context, D2 is the king of RPGs. That's from my perspective, but it's shared by a lot of different people. It's been a long time since then. What happened in the meantime? What can we do? Why did level design in D2 work? It worked because we did not have anything else similar to that at that point. It was all an experiment. It was a journey, and by the time we got fed up with the disadvantages of that level design, we found solutions for it. We either had teleport, or we learned the design, like the layout. We learned the layouts. We shared things or clues left by the devs on the layouts. And my final reason, and I think is the most important, at the time when D2 was out, there was not that many things you could do on a PC. There was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was no Twitter, there was no nothing at that time. I mean, I remember personally being at the PC, be it in an internet cafe, and I was like, do I want to try this again when I died, or what am I gonna do? And the choices were not what am I gonna do on the PC. Was am I gonna play D2 or go out? Right? It's either fight to get this area done, or do something else because there's nothing else interesting to do on that PC at the time. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think that grinding and all that difficulty level would not work in this day and age, and I'm kind of confident of that because I can see it in the new games that are being released. The difficulty level is being ramped up easily. It's not as hard as old school gamers are. Um, what should change it? Who did it well? And I'll talk about that in the next few frames. This is a layout from Van Helsing Final Cut. From my perspective, this is still an old game, but it's a game that did level design very well. It's still somewhat linear. It still funnels you into the same place. I know this map looks complicated, but I've played it, and it's eventually going to funnel you into the areas that you want, and the areas that are somewhat side areas where you would not necessarily go. That's where the hidden chests are, right? That's the dollar signs here. That's the extra content. That's for people that wander around. And that brings me to my final point, where I don't think that linear, very simple level design is the way to go. It is the way to go if you want to please everybody, but a game that pleases everybody and it's very simple and straightforward, and you don't have to think that much. You don't even have to understand lore. You don't have to read any dialogues. You don't have to um, do much thinking. That game is not going to be memorable. It's going to take up your time because you don't really stop. I mean, it's easy. I'll just keep going. I'll just finish the game. I finished almost all of the games because it was easy to do so and was kind of curious how it ends. And then a week later, I forgot everything about the game because I was not really paying attention. I was just hitting some skills, right, in order, looking at some stats, And in some cases, I was not even looking at stats. I have arrows that said good item or bad item. I was like, yeah, this is a good invention. And then I was like, yeah, but I have not learned any new stats. I have not learned much about the lore because I'm just keeping dialogues because they're not interesting. So yeah, long story short, making everything streamlined and very simple, you should better you should better create a mobile game, right? That's where these principles are required. Auto targeting, auto pathing, shiny things that show direction, pats on the floor that show you like those small footprints on the floor that are shiny that say this is the way to go. Those are features for mobile games. If you want to build a PC game that's modern and will be enjoyed by hardcore RPG players, not 12-year-olds, then it should have some complexity to it. So that's why I've mentioned Van Helsing. It has a really good way of showing you the shortest path to the finish line. And if you want to wander around, things get complicated. There's puzzles, right? That's what I wanted to show here. This was a very simple map. This is like 5 or 6 minutes of game time. If you just want to, finish the quest, you had to click on some stuff. And when you click, there's some mobs rushing you, and you just kill them. But if you want to check out everything, it turns out into a 15-minute map, and there's some interesting discussion taking place here with that's the X one with an NPC. I think it's an NPC that gives you some interesting things to buy, unique to this area. But in order to get here, you need to wander on some stairs, you need to lock a door, stuff like that. But this area in particular, this is not required to finish the main quest. So this is, in my opinion, this is the best way to do it. You have a simple pathing system or an open area with a trail that you can easily follow, but there's also other stuff over there and a lot more stuff on the sides, hidden stuff, quests to be opened. Not necessary, but in order to have a good experience, you should try it out. And Van Helsing opens the curiosity for these areas really well because at the end, when you've reached the end of the map, it's gonna tell you, yeah, you finished it, good job, quest done, main quest done, but you've missed 15 chests, 3 side quests, 1 NPC, and 1 hidden, I don't know, totem or whatever. I'm like, where were those things? I thought I was wandering around, and after like 5 or 6 levels, when it keeps telling you, hey, you've missed 90% of the story or the content, like maybe I'm playing the game wrong. So the having the option to do more is way, way, way better. If you have somebody with ADHD, no offense to anybody, but somebody that just want to spend 15 hours of story time or whatever the game will be, they can do that. But in order to actually enjoy everything the developer have prepared for you, there's some thinking, there's some reading that needs to be done, there's some puzzles that needs to be solved, and by doing that, you learn more about the game and what the devs actually intended for you to learn, and it's gonna be a way better experience. And on the right here, there's a different design. This is a more of a catacomb style level design, but here on the right, it's a Path of Exile map. It's a very simple open area, but it's the same principle. If these lines that are drawn here are paths, of course they're not drawn correctly, but imagine that if these things are paths, for the player, it's gonna be very simple to go to the dungeon then where the quest is and move on. But if you have chests and secret things and puzzles hidden in these areas, not the quest here, it's gonna be a different experience. I think that's the way to go. Um, this is something that I drew as an option for dead ends. In case you want to build something with dead ends, you should put teleporting pads in that area. This is not a waypoint system. This is strictly a teleport system that will help you go back. I mean, this will eliminate backtracing. There are some maps, there are some level design principles that require backtracing. I don't think it's uh, something you should do in 2022, and that's why I'm proposing some teleporting systems for all dead ends in case that area requires it. And here on the right, it's a very simple, streamlined, uh, one direction puzzle. No, all virtually no dead ends, right? They're all interconnected to each other, and that's just a basic catacomb structure. Yeah, as a side note, in my opinion, catacombs in general, the recipe has been found, but in terms of outside areas, not that many modern RPGs have done a good job in providing good level design. I think there's more work that can be done to improve current level design when it comes to outside areas. Dungeons are awesome. There's definitely enough um, good dungeons. Um, Now this is a walkthrough over how I started to actually put these ideas into practice. So this is an area that we had in Unity, and it was an open area. There was just some mountains on the sides. I was like, what if I just take a screenshot, doodle some areas that you cannot go to, like some big obstacles. This blue line would be the path. This magenta, this magenta line would be the shortest path that's not gonna be represented on the map. It will just be, if you wander around, you might end up finding a shorter path than the one suggested. And of course, you're gonna hide a lot of different stuff in these pockets and in these hidden areas. So yeah, this was the first draft in Unity. Just let's see whatever happens with this. Then improved textures, lighting, added vegetation. There's a lot of things hidden because Unity don't go very far away from the terrain with the camera. It starts to hide things in order to save performance. And then yeah, you start populating that path with different obstacles on the side, and you can have mobs lying around here. Yeah, if you just want to run around, you just take that path and move forward. I just wanted to go quickly over a different tactic of using paths without any particular purpose. They have the purpose of guiding the player, but in this case, it's all circular. Where do you go? What happens? It's like a mash of paths. The The pink ones are below ground level, white is ground level, and blue is above ground level. Here, I had the idea that what if you don't have any destination? Let's have an area where you can actually just wander around, where you can just enjoy whatever's being put out there. That's why this area will have a lot of emphasis on details and animations and things to look at besides the mobs themselves. Um, let's just wander around without any direction. Let me have. I mean, this is something I want. Let me have one area that's complicated in terms of path design, and it has ups, it has downs. It's what the hell is going on here? Where do I have to go? But what if you don't have to go anywhere? We don't care where you go as long as you keep moving. So you generate mobs based on players' movements. They just, as long as you keep moving, we're gonna spawn mobs for you, and it's gonna matter how fast or how many you kill, right? Or how we're gonna think how much time should a player spend here, or how much time it would be enjoyable to spend here, and just program everything accordingly. So yeah, I'm also thinking about new ways of how we can do level design. If there's no questions that I should answer or go into detail about something else, I want to address the elephant in the room, and that is Diablo 4. I think that I've thought that Diablo 4 would be the new D2, Diablo 2. I honestly really hope for that. After some good research, I've realized that that happening, the chances are slim to none. Or it's not necessarily what I was expecting. I do think it's a beautiful game. I do think it's very well designed. I do think that the level design from the little pieces that I've seen so far is quite on par with what I'm preaching. You have narrow paths, you have connector zones, you have good areas, you take a good advantage of height and um, different levels, going up, going down, stuff like that. And it's a mix between open areas and closed areas. So I do think level design, story, cinematics, everything's gonna be really nice. And mechanics, fighting feel, these are all gonna be good. And I was like, wait, but we wanna build the modern D2. We wanna build the experience for the people that really enjoy D2. Is Diablo 4 going to do this? I don't think they will address the biggest problems, and that's why I made a list. Right, so good design. There's a good team going. It definitely has a design feel that's very well put together. I mean, from a few screenshots, I'm gonna immediately tell that that's Diablo 4, and that's an amazing accomplishment on its own. So whoever worked on the design team on D4, I'm honestly blown away. Um, it's gonna have between 100 and 140 dungeons, unique ones. That means that there's gonna be a lot of diversity. I'm not sure if any ARPG has that diversity for dungeons. I think that's gonna be awesome. I think the systems behind it, determining you to try different dungeons, is gonna be awesome. Dungeons are gonna have specific item drops, so there's if you wanna farm for gloves, at least you're gonna have some guidance to where to go to. Another big thumbs up from me. Battle pass, they're gonna have battle passes. That's a thing they're gonna sell as an extra. This was cool for us to see because battle pass were something that we've been discussing for a long time, and that's why I have crypto in parentheses, because it's a long time in crypto time. In gaming development time, it's not that long. Yeah, but I do believe that battle pass are a good thing to have. Not when the game already costs $70, and then you know where I'm going with this. Um, Costs need to be thought of, and we definitely would not do it exactly the same, but battle pass systems are definitely a cool thing to have. And the second column for D4 is the better. The better are disadvantages or things that I find lacking, and these are the good things for Sanctuary. This is where I think we can shine. Your character is not really visible. I've seen multiple frames where the character completely disappeared because your character is a small black thing and everything else is shiny, and it jumps in your view. That's definitely not a good thing. It can change. They still have 6 months of development, so it can definitely change. I'll be glad if they change it. I think that's a not a good mistake to make. There's way too much fog. Lighting is off in some places. The feel. A lot of other streamers complain about this. It's not just me. Um, that's again something they can easily change. But then we go into personal untradeable items. You can trade rares, and you can craft some stats, some affixes from legendaries, and put them on your. There is some system in there, but it's not what we want. That's why I like that's why I loved Path of Exile, because of the trading system, because of the currency system, because of that huge marketplace that was created around the game. That was the first time, besides some MMOs, but never at this scale, where I've seen a new economy created around the game. Like it was, PoE's economy is immense and it's constantly changing, and you can, in that game, you can become rich just by selling low, buying low and selling high. You can't really do that in many other games, not at that complexity level. And I fell in love with the idea, and that's why I think that crypto will help people with creating really big economies around the game. But somebody needs to do it officially. PoE, at least when I played it, they did not have an official marketplace. The marketplace was created by its fan base, and yeah, no fan made content for D4. That's another big thing that's gonna be lacking a lot. The way they communicate with their fans, the way they do changes according to what other people think, it's very lacking from Blizzard. And yeah, that's something that leaves an open door for us. Online only, we're gonna do the same thing, but yeah, for Diablo, why? Okay, whatever. Yeah, it's a lot more similar to Diablo 3 than D2 in terms of items, sets, peel, level design. They say. I hope not. I've seen something else, but yeah. And this line was quite unbelievable for me. I hope it's not true. It's just a rumor, I guess. Hopefully, best items are available through gambling to give gold a use case. Right? If you don't use in Diablo systems, if you don't use gold for resetting skills or for resetting everything, you don't really have a use case for gold. And in order for gold to be relevant, in order for gold find um, sets or builds to be relevant, they they want to make gambling really important, and they want to make some rare items only available through gambling, which is an interesting idea, but that's not how the economy should be built, and that's where I think that Sanctuary could actually bring something to the table. First of all, um, community-based development. That's why I'm having this talk on Discord, and that's why we're practicing everything here, because yeah, I really do care if others think the same with what I think, or if I'm just going completely off track and I'm hunting for something that's for a unicorn. Um, yeah, the way items will be traded, we embrace trading. We're gonna try to make it the backbone of the economy and be a part of it. Listen, and yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay, cool. Is that the last slide?
Yeah, that was last slide. I just wanted to leave something else on here until if are there any questions on Twitch? I could not be able. Uh, yeah,
Well,
Discord.
nobody said anything yet.
Okay.
But I feel like I have a lot to say.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so first of all, again, for those of you that are unfamiliar, I do have to preface this by saying that I guess for most intents and purposes, I have really never played Diablo. Diablo is not really a game that I play, but you know, approaching this from my MMO perspective, I kind of look at it as like, how do I say this? I kind of feel like, at least from like I don't know, I don't really know how to word it. It's probably not going to be worded very well. I just feel like from the slides that you've shown, from what you've been talking about, it kind of seems to me like you're thinking about it in terms of as if it is a single player game. Whereas, like, you know, in a single player game, it makes sense to have side quests or have things hidden off. When you talked about, you know, having different parts of the map that you don't really need to go to, but there's like optional content there, it kind of made me think of like something like Pokemon, where there's puzzles in Pokemon where it's like you can go through and do the main story, the main quest, whatever, and you can leave some items undiscovered, some, you know, maybe even some Pokemon that you may not encounter if you just stay on the main path. But there's optional things to explore. But I think since like if I'm thinking about the game in terms of a MMO, it's a little bit different. Because sure, there might be, little items that you don't pick up along the way. There might be some quests that you don't do. But for the MMO, a lot of the game is not, I don't really know how to, like, not necessary. Because most of the time,
So,
the first,
I can talk
90%
about
of the, yeah.
I can talk about it. I was just looking, I can't find it immediately. So, MMOs are vastly more open space, almost all of them. And yeah, exactly, this bridge is almost never gonna be found in an MMO. It's gonna be way wider. You're not gonna have paths as small as this one. They're just designed differently. And I agree. When I first saw this thing, I said, yeah, it's beautiful, but should it be there? That was a big question I had. And I wanted to show you that in D4 I've seen narrow paths like this, and that is an MMO. Is let's say this one. This is from the Telegraph.
Is Diablo MMO though? Like, I mean, is it
It's
really
it's
MMO or is it
online.
like?
It's online only, and everybody, please let me see the goddamn image. So everybody's gonna see everybody in game. So everybody's gonna be visible. There's no single player in D4. So let me get that out of the way. All right. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show. There's narrow paths in D4. I don't know why. There should be a shitload of players funneling through the same areas. It should be more open area. I don't know. I think it's gonna vary, and they're gonna take a lot of advantage of what I just said. Narrower paths are more beautiful. They're easier to be designed as a beautiful area. I'm not sure what's gonna happen. I will definitely have to play it. I'm super eager to test it out. I have high hopes in terms of level design. But yeah, I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I don't think that this is something that you should have in an online RPG with PvP in it. This is Last Epoch. Last Epoch should have had a PvP in it, and open areas and multiplayer and everything. So it's your point is fair. The thing is, if you don't do it as simple as this, some part of your player base is going to complain. So you need to somewhat please both parties, at least for the first few acts. So
Well, no, okay. So actually, I think maybe you didn't understand what I was trying to say. I
okay,
think the point that I was trying to make is that in an MMO, you spend 90% of the time at the very end of, well, not at the very end of the game, but basically what I'm saying is the level design in the first like 50% of the maps, the game or whatever, 50% of the levels or whatever. I feel like it's not super important, just because you can have maybe an item along the path, but
yeah,
or an item that's not along the path, but it can't be a very strong item, right? Because otherwise it doesn't really make sense. But if it's a weak item, it's like you can just ignore it and you're gonna outscale that point very fast anyways.
That's a good point. I think Sanctuary will be able to, I really hope that will be able to solve this. There's a big problem with the leveling system. When you have a game that goes up to level 60 and the end game happens in an area, in a closed area on the map that's just unlocked for level 60, everybody's 60 there. If you go from level 1 into that area, you get killed immediately. If that level 60 player goes somewhere back, he doesn't have anything to do because he will one-shot everything, even the NPCs, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if the loop,
and that means that everything that you found up to level 40 is absolutely useless when you are level 60. But when you have the skills on your items, it's gonna matter if you found that skill on the level 4, on your level 4, and you grow that skill and you grow that item and you craft things on top of that base, it would have mattered that you found it at level 10 and not at level 50, because it takes time to craft that skill or to improve that base item. So we don't have, Binzy, stop me if I'm going off track completely, but that's the system. That's a new system that I think will solve a lot of different problems. Where
Yeah,
base,
hey guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
yes, Binzy, please take over.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry, there's a delay. I sorry to interrupt you. Okay, so yeah, I guess I'm like the principal game designer here, even though, you're the lead developer level designer, so I guess I can speak to that. So, well, the first thing is, levels can support an MMO, even designed like this. It is Hellman. I just want to put that out there as a base, but like many, many MMORPGs. Now, on talking to scaling, finding something a little 10 and a little 60, Sanctuary is going to be heavily resource based. And so that means, and it's also going to be globally scaled. And so that means you can play with your friends, but the resources you find when you're stronger, you can challenge higher difficulties and find more of those resources. So rather than finding like one dragon scale at 0.1% chance, if you are at a higher difficulty, you might have like 3 dragon scales at 0.2% chance of something like this, right? So this would allow us to have a challenging world where you're trying to push yourself to improve your build and to pay attention to the global balancing and finding unique builds that are more powerful, and still being able to play with your friends and in any level essentially. And just to talk towards what Handa was talking about, as far as like stronger items being like out of the way, Sanctuary is heavily crafting based and very random. So where you find a powerful item could be on the path that could, if you play the main path like 10 times, you're probably going to find that item anyway. It doesn't matter if you went off to the side, maybe you have a little bit higher chance, but either way, it's random, right? So that doesn't really matter too much. Yeah, I think that kind of covers what we're talking about. But I just want to emphasize here that this is not like a World of Warcraft MMO, at least not at this point. From my idea and what I want to do with this is I want it to be more like Diablo 2. So it's instance based. You have your own world. You can invite other people to your world. It's open to other people. And it's augmented. There's destructible environments that you get materials from, and they're destroyed forever. There's different paths in the story. So different choices lead to different paths. Some, for example, like if you choose to help the villagers clear the rock path, you open a new area, a side quest. But if you don't, it's blocked forever in your world. You can't get there. And later on, you find out you need materials from that unblocked area, so you're gonna have to join somebody else's world. So yeah, like that kind of like dynamic environment. And also, we want to open it up to moderators, to mod developers. And to do that, we effectively have to have the ability for them to create levels and to be able to allocate resources in a secure way that they can't just give people overpowered items, right? So, yeah, taking all that into consideration, I can't see it being a single one open world. Again, also just because when you do that, it's very difficult to develop a good world. Like you said, is if you had 100 people on a bridge, does it look good? Probably not. It has happened. That does exist in MMOs, but it's not what I want to go for at this time. Over.
Over.
So that's a
Sassy
different
boy enjoys your voice.
that's a different thing that I wanted to say. In MMOs, as I said, you are bound to a specific area of the map, but in this style, you can go to different areas to do different stuff, and the difficulty of that area might change. Right, so
I think it'll be interesting.
areas will be reused in different ways.
I don't know if the point you made around experience, wanting to have that lower level item and build it up in comparison to just picking up a high level item in the first place. I guess, over time, you're going to augment that, add attachments to it and and additional benefits that maybe just aren't available there. But I guess that's quite similar to where Panda referenced it, Pokemon games, in that, you know, if you do train them up, they're usually stronger, and they, you know, you get a choice of moves as to what you want to pick for them, whereas you pick them out in the wild, you know, their stats usually aren't as high as if you had trained them and leveled them up, and you don't have the choice of, you know, the moves, and you've got to try and move those around. So yeah, I personally quite like that kind of concept of, you know, really treasuring those early items, the ones you get attached to, that as often in most games you just end up throwing away simply because there are some things better, or maybe you put it in storage just for the memories, but you'll never ever use that again. Whereas, you know, yeah, why not? You know, I like the idea of having those early items and saying, do you know what, I really like this one, I like the design of it, I've grown attached to it, I've spent all this effort and time building it up. Why can't I just keep building that up and keep making it better and carry it with me throughout, you know, at least to a point where it's somewhat competitive, you know, unlike so many early items in so many games. You know, it just gets to a point, as you say, where you just can't make it any better, and then all of a sudden you can't take part with that item. You do need to go and find someone else.
I think I can
I
explain.
love that, Disco, and it's one aspect to that is we could just raid off from the onset. We could integrate Evo, so you could improve the attribute of that sword with something you can't get in Syncs. So that would really, you know, inspire you to keep that because you couldn't get it in another way.
Yeah, so I wanted to say that D2 emphasizes how important leveling up is, and the fact that we might have to drop it. I don't know. There's no have in there, but there is an idea where leveling systems are not ideal. They're not what they should be. Even in D2, right? You start a game, you progress to normal Nightmare Hell, and you go up in level, and all items are level based, and you enjoy them, and you want to be as high level as possible. But towards the end game, when your level is high enough, you want specific items, and you might not find them, and you want to trade them. But what do you trade with in D2? Nobody wants gold. Everybody has they're maxed out on gold. Even if they want more, they cannot hold it. They need mule accounts just to hold more gold. Maybe you want to trade items, but you have a lot of them, and you can't find something that the other guy has that you want, and that's how they started trading with runes. And runes were a part of the crafting system, and lo and behold, the economy was built around a crafting system or a crafting tool, or crafting currency. So it was nothing else, right? So everybody was max level or high enough level. They just wanted items. They wanted a way to trade it. And this endgame portion of D2 actually shows that crafting is more important for hardcore play than leveling, restrictions, and all that stuff. If you have a crafting system that's complex and good enough, you might not need leveling anymore. You can block areas through other ways, or don't block them at all. I've played MMOs where you can wander around and you've encountered immense mobs, trolls, where there was specifically for some trolls, or like, what happens if I'm gonna poke this guy? He just smacked me once and I was dead. Back to the city I go, right? So it's not a foreign concept. What I wanted to say with this is, I believe that very good crafting systems are gonna be the bread and butter of future RPGs and MMOs. They help with monetizing the game. They help with creating different new systems. It helps with creating a good community. With a good crafting system, you can have good trading, and with good trading, you can have an emerging community. Right? In single player RPGs, you don't care about that, but where almost no modern RPGs are single player. Almost all of them are online only. Almost all of them encourage you to have a party. There are gonna be dungeons that are limited to parties only, right? Even in D4, I'm confident that's gonna happen. Some game modes are gonna be just for parties, and you're gonna have rewards for joining a party and all this stuff. But parties don't work well if you don't have a great crafting system, and I don't think D4 will have a great crafting system or a great trading system.
Yeah, I think crafting is actually, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think crafting is one way to make it so that the early levels stay impactful. For example, you could have materials that you would have to mine for. Maybe you have to mine for, let's say, lum on a level that is early on in the game, maybe on an area that you probably wouldn't visit if you're just playing through the story, but you can revisit that later when you do need to mine for, lum, or if you need to, maybe grab some apples off of a tree or something like that, just for, maybe there could be cooking as well. I think I mentioned before that I've been playing Summoner's War, which is a MMO. It does have a lot of that aspect as well, where a lot of the early levels or a lot of the early maps, whatever you like to call it, you do have to revisit just to mine and gather and do things like that.
That's an old concept. I think we can do better. Fishing, hunting, all these things that have been around for 15 years at least. But the principle remains the same. Develop fun ways for players to gather interesting currency, whatever that is. It doesn't matter.
You don't like
And
mining and stuff like that?
I had fun with it 15 years ago, literally. I think it's time for something new. Something other than fishing and mining. I don't know. All the hardcore gamers that I watch, not streamers, like reviewers and stuff, I haven't seen one in the last 3 years saying, thank God there's fishing in this MMO because I wanted to catch some bass, right?
Do you think
Nobody says that?
Do you think that is because that most games don't put that as like a very important part of the game, or do you think it's because people don't enjoy doing that? I look at RuneScape when I look at, fishing is obviously very important because that is how you make your food. That's how you heal, right? Instead of potions, you essentially you have to fish. You have to make your sharks, or at least you used to. I'm not exactly sure how it works now, but like mining, you have to mine to make equipment, and it's like a very integral part of the game where it's all kind of connected. Whereas I think with newer games, I kind of get the feeling that the different I guess skills or whatever you would like to call it, they're not as important.
No, so I do want for a system like that. I do think that it's gonna be really good to have diversity of obtaining your resources, and I think that adding fishing, flying, and mining were some amazing additions to MMOs, but they were done so long ago, and they've been improved to such a point where doing anything in those exact lines would be straight up copying. I think that we can find a system that works exactly the same, but is presented differently to the player, and hopefully will be a new experience for the player and will be something they will be eager to try it out. Right? I was eager to try fishing 10 years ago in an MMO. Hey, you can actually fish in a game that's not about fishing. Let me try it out, and I was happy when I caught my first fish. But I've caught thousands of fish since then. I don't want a new game where I'm gonna catch the same damn fish. Or the same fish with a different name, right? So there should be fishing, but it's not gonna be called fishing.
Okay, so I actually thought about this.
Okay.
I actually thought about this. It's pretty. So obviously, look at Pokemon. It's interesting that Pokemon has things like tree smashing or tree bumping or something like this, where you like Pokemon follow the trees, right? Meteors that fall out of the trees, right? We have planting berries, so there's like designated places to plant berries and come back and harvest them. There's
I
obviously
love the
destructible
berries.
environments where, yeah, like you can destroy mountain, like the sides of mountains, kind of rocks fall off. You get different types of resources, CL gems. There's, well, what about a waterfall? There's a waterfall there that you cast a spell and just remove the waterfall and grab some items. It's kind of like mining, but it's just a different methodology for doing it. And I wasn't joking about like wind whispering. Maybe you can just stand there and wind whisper and it summons some kind of like wind golem or something, or some wind demon. You have some resources. There's all sorts of different ways to do this for sure. I agree with Alex. We wouldn't just do like, oh, it's fishing and mining and harvesting flowers. Like that is kind of played out by now.
See, there you go.
All right, fair enough. I guess I am the only one that enjoys chopping trees and mining.
Well, it's a matter of
But
I do
the thing
enjoy
is,
mining.
you can chop trees and mine in any other experience, and then what we want to do is give you that same feeling, that same enjoyment, but just doing something else. Wind
As the
whispering and a
first time you
$5
did
note
it.
on the 5th time whistles by and you snatch it out of the air. Do you know what I mean? You're going to end up doing that 100 times. Or, rather than fishing, you're conjuring up some potions and you just get that, 1 in 100 shot that you get a magic potion that will bring you back to life. And you're like, well, that was worth it. I'll keep doing that again. It's the same sort of mechanics, just presented differently.
Sure. Okay, Maiev, you've been pretty quiet. What do you gotta say?
Probably like mixing bowl. Well, I do enjoy mining or gathering stuffs in
Nice,
Monster
another
Hunter
miner.
World. Yeah. So because in Monster Hunter there are like there are two options like wherein you would hunt and there is like a gathering quest. So if you gather, you're teleported in the same area, has less monsters or has random monsters, but resources are more abundant. And then in hunting, there's still resources, but monsters are more abundant. So you could either choose by gathering or mining. So I kind of like it. Although, yeah, I feel the same about Alex regarding fishing. Like, if it's like if you would grind for like 6 hours or 8 hours to get an ultra rare fish, I wouldn't do that in an MMO. I would rather grind and purchase it on a marketplace or but yeah, maybe we could do something new, like maybe like a big pot wherein you could throw off all your items, whatever you throw at it, and then it gives you something random, like how Final Fantasy 12 does it. Like there would be like secret items that if you throw it, if you sell in the marketplace, they would give you like a special item, or if it's just something random, you would get something in return, like potions or bullets or another item for another recipe. And there are plenty of games, but yeah, I think those are what I most enjoyed. And another thing with item progression, I think when I played Tree of Savior, you are still able to get like items that is still usable for your current level, because there are some like in Diablo, right? Whenever you progress your game, you get stronger base items, not actually good ones with good rolls or something, but it's still something that you could use in replacement for your normal item you are still when you are still in the progress of like what do you call it, getting to the maximum point or getting like the best items in game. But in the early stage of Tree of Saviors, you get like items which you are able to craft and progress into better items. So I think that is something that is something we could adapt like get some high value, low level items, but you would be able to progress it to the better ones. Or if at some point that item is no longer relevant, you could use it to craft uh, another item with a different path. Or maybe you could just have a simple sword that could progress, like let's say our steel. We have a version of a steel for level 1, and then you could totally progress it, which makes it usable up until level 50 or level 99. And then if at some point you no longer want it, you could stop at level 50 and use it to feed another item with a different tree path. So something like that. But yeah,
Yep.
I have a lot of things getting mixed up. But
No. I actually getting your point, and yeah, that's the whole idea. In Path of Exile, it's a little bit easier. Players of Path of Exile have a easier time to understand this because your skills go into the item as in slots. Let's say you have a pair of boots, you can put 4 skills in there, and they can be connected. They're always going to be connected. Let's say like that. And but those gems themselves, they can have levels on themselves. So you actually level up your skill by using it more. So that's a principle that I think we can work on and improve even further. You have levels for it, you have improvements, you can enchant it, you can corrupt that skill, you can do so many things even in PoE, but it's not a big emphasis on that. But yeah, if you put even more emphasis on skills and the idea that once you found it, you can go on with it and maybe even split it. Um, for example, if you have Fireball, leveling it up, it only gives you like a 10% more damage or something like that. Not
right,
important. But if you put in support gem that splits the skill, you can have multiple projectile skill added to that fireball. And when you shoot a fireball, you don't shoot one, you shoot three. So you split your skill into three projectiles that deal 40% less damage, let's say. But what if the same skill evolves into that if you do something? So that's like the train of thought. You found that item that gives you the fireball, and you work with that item equipped on you in order to morph it into whatever you want. And that's not limited by level, that's limited just by your imagination, where you want to go with it, and time, because you have to invest time into that specific item. And once you've morphed it into something that you like, you think that it works, you say that you need that item to pair it with, and that's a good build, you can put it on a marketplace. Hey, I've created a new build. This is what I would like to ask for it. So that was the. I know I was supposed to talk about level design, but I was excited about
Yeah, I
find.
really like that.
Yeah, go busy.
Okay, guys, I think we can keep talking about everything, but we should probably jump into Evo. We are running,
Yeah,
quite
sure.
a long stream. Disco probably will need to go to bed soon.
I will, and I'm getting hungry.
Yeah,
now
me
as
too.
well.
I'm pretty hungry now
I
too. So that's
cook up some noodles.
that's definitely a sign that we should jump onto our Evo games. But of course, we can keep
Yes,
talking
sure.
during it as well. So as always, let's everybody get on Evo. We're gonna be doing Pandemonium. We will be on NA. Hopefully my controller works. Let's see. Okay, so we are going to be short one Panda today. It's just going to be just me and Maiev. Eki had other plans today, so he's not able to make it. So yeah, hope we can do fine without Eki carrying us.
I'll just increase the.
Panda,
give us
down,
even
please.
more of a handicap. All right. So I think something else that you mentioned at the very beginning, Alex, is that well, I don't even know if you mentioned it, but it did make me think. I almost feel like games don't do well in a sequel. At least not nowadays. I feel like nowadays any game that gets a sequel like is always kind of disappointing. And I wonder if that's because people have such high expectations. Or if it's just like nostalgia maybe ruining it.
I think
I'm
it's
not
a
really sure.
combination, isn't it? You've got the nostalgia, the expectations. You want more of the same, but at the same time, you want it better. But
yeah.
you probably don't quite know in what way you want it better. Maybe you have something clear, and then that's the other issue, is that either you know exactly what you want better, and if they don't deliver on that, it's disappointing, or you're not quite sure. You just, you know, you like the game, you just want it to be a bit better next time to justify spending the money to buy it again, or the version 2, you know.
Or maybe even if you think you want something but you don't actually want it, you know, something that was cool, you know, 10, 15 years ago. Like, do you
Yeah.
I don't know, do you really want that in a game now still? Like, I don't know. I probably
I think
would, but
that-
I think a lot of people probably might not.
I think that was a lot of the comments around Diablo 2 Resurrected in particular, in that a lot of the execution of the mechanics, while they, you know, they love the mechanics themselves, the execution of the mechanics were very aged, and probably had been, you know, enjoyed through rose tinted glasses to an extent, you know, because you just remember all this great time that you had. And again, like Alex pointed out, at the time there were no alternatives like that. It's not like at the moment you can go out and play 20 different you know, RPGs, various forms, and you can find those within 5 minutes. You know, back at the time there just wasn't much or anything really like it, certainly not exactly like that. So you know, Diablo's been that kind of trendsetter, so people return to it with that view, you know, I really loved this game back then, I'm going to go play it again. And you know, a lot of the things they find are like, yeah, I enjoyed that mechanic, but actually the modern solutions are much slicker, if not less complex. And I guess especially, you know, as people generally tend to happen, is they get less and less free time as they're older, you know, in terms of gaming generation. So what time you do have is much more valuable, and you want to spend actually playing the game rather than tackling those mechanics necessarily. Of course, some people will play them purely for those mechanics, but I think as a, you know, general sweeping statement, people just want to jump into the action, don't they? And you know, if you've only got an hour an evening or whatever it is, you don't want to spend 45 minutes picking out your build and setting up your character and, you know, looking at some stats as to, right, this is where I need to go next and focus on these particular items. I've just done one battle and I need to turn it off now because I've got real life things to do. So I think, you know, you need to, with games, quite often be able to have short sessions, you know, jump in for 10-15 minutes and feel like you've achieved something valuable, but of course still have enough there to then hook you in when you do have those, you know, 5-6 hour evenings, that you can just continue to play, and there's enough variety to kind of keep you entertained or fixated on that same kind of gameplay loop.
I really did like the point that Alex made about how people have so many more things to do on the computer now. It's not like it was before. I think we probably talked about, I think I remember talking about it privately about how MapleStory had this very interesting way that they did party quests before, where only one party could be inside a dungeon essentially at the same time, and everybody else had to wait, and that led to a lot of friendships being made, because you would just sit outside and wait and just like talk with people in your party, right? But nowadays, if that happened, people would probably be just all tabbed on Reddit, all tabbed, or like, you know, hang out, maybe playing a game of Valorant or something while they're waiting. So it probably wouldn't work as well anymore.
Yeah, and I
There
think
is
people
that,
just
but
get
you gotta
bored
think
as
about
well.
it. The other problem with that is that you you send to build number two, right? So you've built number one, people like it, and then you go to build number two. Most game companies feel like they have to deliver something new, so they'll often change the mechanics and
Yeah.
not retain the original essence of the first game. And there's actually very few examples where that's not the case. The only one I can really think of off the top of my head is Torchlight. Torchlight 1 and Torchlight 2. Torchlight 2 was actually well received because it retained a lot of the same type of mechanics. But usually, if you look at Diablo 1, Diablo 2, 3, 4, they're all quite different actually, and they're like reinventing it each time. And I think that they do that not only just because they don't want to feel like encumbered by retaining all of the mechanics of the original and understanding it, but also because they feel like they have to deliver something new. You look at the Pokemon games; they're always different. They don't iterate and improve as much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, critics used to be very hot on that. In fact,
Okay, we can keep talking, but Maiev,
people
can you
would
go ahead and
criticize.
start Battle Royale? We've been waiting
Yeah.
for quite a little
Yeah.
bit. So
Yeah, you know what? I do, vividly remember game critics always criticizing sequels when they went down that same path as to, more of the same. And the reviews would bomb because they would get called out for, well, it's just more of the same. So there was always that need. And, especially back then, I think, there was a much bigger need to have something new and to get good reviews. So maybe that's just again another legacy in the quite often people are quite happy to play the same games just with a new skin over it and slightly shinier graphics or whatever it is, color changes. But yeah, I think from a shareholder perspective and to give that confidence and also drag that new audience in, because that's the other thing, you're not only trying to retain the audience you've built up, but you're also then trying to attract a new audience that you couldn't attract first time round with everything that your game offered. So you need something new to try and bring those in as well.
yeah, I'm just thinking of like the different
Yeah.
sequels that have not done well. At least not particularly well. Like Maple Story 2 was kind of a flop. I think RS RuneScape 3 was okay, but I don't think they did as well as they did before. I think like even games like Counter-Strike, I think going from like 1.6 to Source, I think people didn't like that change, and then going from Source to CS:GO, people really didn't like that either. So
But it's a successful game.
it is, but I think when they first changed, a lot of people didn't like it, but then they kind of had to like it because Valve was the tournaments were really only happening for the newest title, right?
Counter-Strike is exactly the same thing as D2 and D3.
RuneScape did it well though, right? I mean, when you, like you said, is if you buy a new skin, you don't ruin the mechanics, right? Or change them in a large way. People don't really like change, so you have to be able to improve the game. I mean, just look at D2R. They didn't improve the inventory system. The UX, like the experience of playing the game, was very much the same, and not the improvements that people wanted 20 years ago. They didn't improve that. So, that's what they really should have done. And also, people want
Yes.
to feel like they're playing something new, especially this generation. So, calling it Diablo 2 Resurrected, they probably should have just called it Diablo Resurrected and went the extra mile and changing the experience to a more modern experience.
Oh my god,
And I think that would have went a long way
There we go.
with them.
Finally got Sassy Boy.
Yeah, that's really disappointing with D2. They didn't
And
even
Loma
change
is our
it.
first winner.
It's like
Congratulations.
Okay, so one game that I think actually is received pretty positively, and I think it's because it didn't change, I guess, that much, is very interesting. It's actually Overwatch 2. I think Overwatch 2, a lot of people say that it didn't even change, but I think a lot of people it's really enjoy playing that game. So
I only read
Interesting.
hate
I
about
don't.
Overwatch 2, so I'm curious what you guys think.
I read hate, but not because of the game, but because of the fact that you had to unlock characters. That's the negative thing that I read about it, not about the actual gameplay. Most of the reviews of the gameplay
Fair.
I've seen actually really enjoy the gameplay. They just don't like the I guess quote unquote pay to win
But-
aspect of it.
But I've also read that it's more of like an expansion. It's not necessarily worthy of a 2.0.
Exactly, but I think
Also
that's
read
what
that.
people like about it, which is I guess a little bit interesting.
Mhm.
All
It
right.
just got free. To
Yeah.
me, it just became free. because I played Overwatch 1, but I never
No,
really purchased the
dude,
game.
Overwatch was free like a long time ago. Overwatch 1, when it first came out, you had to pay for it, but it became free a long time ago.
It just tanked in sales initially, didn't it? And it wasn't until it became free to play that they got some sort of a player base. I think they were kind of
Yeah, there we go. We're gonna
part
start the
in
next
between
round.
due to timing of their launch, and also just because at the time I don't think it differentiated that much in terms of gameplay. It was just fast paced, in which case people just wanted Call of Duty. It's why,
Oh
you know,
my god,
games like
people
Titanfall
hate Warzone. Dude, Warzone. I see people. I don't know. Everyone's killing Warzone. I mean, Warzone does have its fair share of problems, so it's probably warranted. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've not played it much. You know, I play classic Call of Duty games. Not, I haven't played the latest one for going back, mate. I don't know, 7 or 8 releases. I don't tend to play Call of Duty these days much, but the game design in terms of the multiplayer levels is still very much unchanged from kind of Modern Warfare, the original one, you know, Call of Duty 4. In the and similarly to MOBAs, you know, it's kind of lane based.
Isn't it kind of crazy that there was Modern Warfare and then Modern Warfare 2, and then there's a new game that's called the same exact name?
That's
yeah, because
lack
Modern
of
Warfare
inspiration.
3 wasn't there as well.
Yes, there was.
And now Modern Warfare.
If you think about it, that actually makes a lot of sense, because going back to what Disco was saying, he was saying that when you released a new game like version 2, if it was the same, then you would get a lot of criticism against it. But like you just said, Overwatch 1, Overwatch 2, it's more of an expansion. So if you look at Call of Duty, they've been doing it right, I think. They had, like, as far as like sales and retaining their users, the players understand, hey, I'm gonna go from Modern Warfare 1 to 2 to 3, and it's going to be a very similar experience. It just feels a bit like an expansion. And then, of course, they make tons of income for that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Call of Duty have got the advantage of, you know, it's the multiplayer feels the same every time.
Yes.
And there were some deviations where it didn't, and those versions tanked and, you know, were heavily criticized. And I think the publisher, you know, developers were rolled off the projects as well. So the advantage they have, though, is that they got the big budgets to do the big single player storyline. So when you're buying a Call of Duty game, you know that you've got a brand new, exciting storyline with probably, you know, state of the art graphics, and then you get the same old multiplayer experience, but reskinned with those latest graphics, maybe a couple of new toys and features just to throw into the mix, and kind of liven up the gameplay and try and differentiate it. But you know, again, and I think that's one of the reasons they're so successful. You get 2 distinct experiences, something that is brand new, you know, with the big set pieces, and they constantly expand on that storyline, and then you get this very same feeling, you know, very familiar multiplayer game.
Well, I want to say this.
Monster Hunter did the same, right? It's like it's still the same game all throughout. It's like every new iteration of the game they add like a new mechanic. So the controls, everything is the same. Monsters are the same. They just add a few new ones, and then for like in version 1, you're not allowed to jump, and then in version 2, there's
Not
now a
allowed to
mechanic
jump.
that you're able to jump.
Jumping is a new mechanic.
I'm just stating it because in Monster Hunter it's something like that. Because in the previous Monster Hunter, you don't have a slingshot wherein you'd be able. I mean, like a grappling hook where you are able to mount monsters.
Should we restart the server, guys? Because Loma won that round. So congratulations, Loma.
Oh, right. So what I'm saying is, add. It's like it's a new game, but they just add a new mechanic, like an ability to jump. Or the next version, you're allowed to swim, and then you hunt monsters underwater. So it's still the same game, but the mechanics didn't really change at all. They just added a new one. So
I got Sanctuary 1 to 10 planned out then. Jumping, swimming, flying.
flying,
Boats.
yeah. Yeah, but
Oh, we
it's
can
something.
we can jump the
It
Have you
might
still
not
sanctuary.
be
got
something.
Battle Royale on?
Yeah,
No,
I
I
think
don't
it's
think
still
anyone can
on.
join the server.
I want to say one important thing. Counter-Strike 2 or whatever is gonna would have been called, there was no way it would have pleased the majority. It was an amazing game. It was probably a perfect game at its time. Some people still play it. Of course, the sequel will take a lot of heat, but there was no way to upgrade it after that many years without changing a lot of stuff. So people did not like change. With Counter Strike, I think they did a great job with upgrading it and making a modern game. But with D2 Resurrected, they did not have any excuse as to what changes they should have put in there because there was a fan made project, a community based project that was Median Excel, where they actually played with a lot of improvements, and some of them were really good. All they had to do was play Median Excel, see what worked, and freaking implement that. No research, no asking anybody, just take a look on a forum. That's all they had to do. I swear to God, it was that easy. With Counter Strike, there was nothing like this.
It's
There
true.
were
They've actually started to copy them though. Like they started to copy Project Diablo 2 and App Diablo.
where in D4.
In D2R. They're actually like copying the ideas. They're quite slow to do it, but yeah.
I mean, that's extremely slow. I mean, come on. Yeah. There's
So we
so
have
many
got our
quality of
There we go.
round winner, Sassy Boy.
Yep, we do have 5 winners. I believe Sassy Boy won twice, Loma won twice, and TNN won once. So I guess I will conclude our Evo games for today, and just letting you guys know, I believe today we are going to be crafting, I forgot the name already.
Soul
Soul
Core.
Cord.
Is it Soul Cord? Okay, I didn't want to say the wrong one.
it
Okay,
is
yeah, so we're going to be
Soul
doing Soul
Cord.
Cord. I do believe Soul Cord is supposed to be a more rare item, so we're only going to be doing 10, but yeah, you never know.
10 crafts
10 crafts of Soul Cord.
as they're laid out. You will get them. And yeah, and as Panda said, you know, Soulcraft does use some rune. We discussed previously the emissions are slowed right down for all that, as we're starting to reach those higher runes now, those rarer crafting materials. So yeah, this one, it is what it is. Hopefully Panda manages to get 10 epics. If not the mythic, we'll see about that.
If I get one that's above 50%, I think that's a win.
Yeah, definitely.
Why can't I post the link? What's going on, guys? Does my enter key not work? There we go. There we go. That is the link to the Stream Elements giveaway. Go back to the other scene. Oh man, there was something I wanted to say and I completely forgot. Do I
It was
remember?
probably about Maple Story.
What?
Statistically.
Wait, what was that?
It was probably about Maple Story.
Oh, Maple Story? No,
You're gonna
no.
say it.
Maple Story 2 sucked. I don't know. Oh, what I was gonna say is I think if you have a sequel to a game, I think what happens is people, like new players, don't really want to play a game that's a sequel without knowing the original game, and then the original players are like annoyed because the sequel is not what they wanted from a game. The sequel is different. I think that might be what happens to at least some games.
Metrics?
Oh, absolutely, I agree with that. It's just challenging because if you think of like an older game, people don't want to play it because it's old, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you do?
Man, I love your voice. I need to find somebody that sounds like you.
Apex or PUBG. Are you going to play those? No, because it's Fortnite's defeated them effectively, right? But what if
Hey,
they're better now?
Apex is
And you just don't know.
hey, Apex is definitely not
Yeah.
that. Apex might be doing better than Fortnite now. Apex is doing really well.
Panda said he doesn't want change, right? On games, right? Like in League. Oh, what changes in League? Well, in Dota, every year there's like they change the map, they change the it's the same mechanics. They add like a new mechanic. Like for instance, in this year they changed the map and they added like like an item which allows you to get another skill for your character. So that last year's Dota is still the same gameplay, but overall the mechanics and the it feels like a new game. It still feels like a new game because it's like Dota 2 point, like a new version of it. Like that happens every year. Like they change the map, they add a new mechanic. So last year's play is different from this year's play.
I feel is. Did you play Dota 1?
I did, and if you actually played Dota 1 or even Dota 2, if you played Dota 2 3 years ago, it would feel like a different game altogether.
Do you okay? So this is kind of strange, or maybe it's interesting, but I feel like if you look at games like more than like maybe 10, 20 years ago, if you look at sequels back then I think it's actually like a positive thing. Like if you go from Counter-Strike 1 to like 1.6, I feel like people look at that as a positive thing, or like 1 to 1.5, right? I think I don't know, or maybe it's because I'm
Actually,
not old enough to like hear about
offensive.
the backlash back then, but like yeah. Like Dota 1 to Dota 2 was like quite a positive change, right? No? Or I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's what I like when they changed Dota 2 is like they were able to smooth things out. Like there are some hero because in Dota 1 in Warcraft, if you have a hero character or a hero model, it has better attack animations compared to the standard units, which has like clunky animations, or even if they tweak the attributes, like give it higher attack speed, its animation and its thing is still different than a hero class model. But in Dota 2, they were able to smooth that thing, and I really felt it because what else?
What about from
There are
Diablo 1 to
some
Diablo 2? Do you guys think that
I
was a
haven't
positive change?
I haven't played. I haven't played Diablo 1. But Diablo 2 to Diablo 3 is really terrible. It's like
Yeah. Have any
Yeah.
of you guys went from
Yeah,
1 to
one to
2?
Diablo 2
removed the
was
most exciting
always
part of the game.
Yeah, I went. It was positive in some ways, like the technical advancements and the inventory, the stash, the running. But there was some people who didn't prefer it for sure.
Hmm.
I mean, I can go down as somebody who didn't like Dota 2 more than Dota 1, but I liked Diablo 2 more than Diablo 1.
Gotcha. So I guess I don't know. I guess maybe it's just I'm not old enough to remember the people that didn't like the changes back then. And also there was no social media, so it's harder to hear about the people that didn't like it.
One, yeah, I remember.
Okay, so guys,
Just
almost
like,
nobody joined this giveaway. I'm pretty sure as it stands, everybody wins.
yeah.
Ooh.
So I'll keep it running for another minute because I believe there's 5 people entered and we picked 5 winners. So as of right now, everybody's
fine with
gonna
that.
win. Let's see if anybody ruins that or not in the next minute or so.
Am I allowed? Are you able to draw the same person twice
I don't think so, which is why
on
I
stream
think that
elements?
I don't think so. That's why I think that everybody that entered is gonna win. Unless somebody ruins that, I mean. But I don't think anybody else is gonna enter, so. Oh, never mind. Aloma did enter with 14 tickets. Kind of smart. If you enter with a low amount of tickets, you might still have a good chance to win.
Well, I still went all in.
You didn't go all in. Oh, you did go all in.
But it says now that you can only purchase up to
Yeah.
maximum 100
Yeah, I
tickets.
think I did
or-
100 instead of 1,000 this time, so yeah. So basically, Alex, Tien, and Maiev and Disco went with 100 tickets. We have a couple more entries, but I think I am going to close it here. So 7 people entered in total, and we're going to pick 5 winners. So good luck, everybody. Maiev wins first.
maybe I should
TNN wins.
do the
Discomonk 1988 wins.
Ooh.
So everybody that entered with 100 tickets has won so far besides Alex. 4 Epan EU wins with 10 tickets. And okay, Alex does end up winning, so all is fair. All is fair. Alright, so so Sassy Boy won twice in Evo, right? Sassy Boy won twice, and I believe Loma won twice. And
Yep.
TNN won once.
Indeed.
Alright, everything looks good there. Oh my god, everything is working today perfectly. What do you know? Here we go.
No, I won't be doing the ritual for this. I don't feel it. I don't feel like
You don't feel
Panda's
it?
scrapping. Yeah, scrapping the red stuff today.
Oh, you got a nice one last time. You got like 97% or 98%. That was
Yeah, I did.
Is that the closest that I've
96%.
gotten?
I think you've crafted like a 98% repack. So probably. Yeah. Mm.
So, in other news,
Yeah, you didn't make it in Binzy.
never mind. I was gonna say we should talk about Elon, but maybe we'll save it for next week.
Yeah, I'm here. Probably I'll have my Christmas vacation.
Where are you going? Are you going anywhere?
It's just a break from work. Like 1.5 week break from work.
Nice. Is it still super hot over there? Ooh, that was so close.
Actually went home like over the weekends. And it was really. It's rainy, so it's kind of chilly, like chill weather.
It's been pretty cold over
But-
here. This morning it was like almost freezing. I think it's actually gonna
Well,
be a pretty
we
cold
don't
Christmas
get
here.
freezing temperatures here. It's
Yeah.
like there's only one place here in the Philippines where they get like 10 degrees on a normal, or 10, or I'm not sure, it's 10 or 15 degrees.
Yeah, you don't know what ice is and snow.
Yeah,
Oh, it's gonna be close again. Oh my god.
it's
That's so
I think the normal
close.
temperature in the city here
Oh!
is like 30
Wow.
degrees Celsius. Something like that.
Alright, so top 3, we got Loma, Sassy Boy, and TNN are Evo winners.
Congratulations.
I just got kicked out. I'm just messing around with you guys. I'm still praying that I get first place in Panda Grabs with Mythic. I'm just saying it because I prayed for it a lot last week, so I'm not doing anything right now. So maybe luck will side with me because I'm not wanting it.
There's only been like 20 soul cords crafted so far, huh? I wonder what the highest perfection has been.
I did craft 4 as we were warming up for the stream,
Oh, did you
and
get anything?
I managed to
Aren't
pick
you
up
able
a
to see
rare
it?
84%,
Nice, nice.
which yeah, out of full crafts, I was quite pleased with.
All right, looks like Sassy Boy is gonna get the grand prize.
Congratulations.
I'll be impressed with myself if I craft anything over 50%. Even though I think that should be the average, but you know how it goes.
50%. That's. I would just say that you'd be happy when you crafted something like 50%. 50% is low.
We'll see. We will see.
Is it?
That's a squeaky door. You should get some oil. Or
Some
what is it? What is it? It's not oil, right?
WD-40.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm too lazy to go outside.
Okay, you know what? I got a yellow. One yellow, you know? Could have been worse, right?
Out of
Could've been
10, I
worse.
think that's not bad.
That's not bad at all. Most of them were actually over 50%. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Alright, congratulations, Sassy Boy. And I guess to all of our other winners of a very rare soul cord.
Right. Congrats, everyone. It's still a rare soul cord. And only a few craps.
Okay, cool. That was wow. This is a pretty long stream. 2 hours and 15 minutes. I think that's a little bit longer than we usually have. We had a lot of content today. A lot of good discussions. Thank you, Alex, for coming on and for showing us your presentation.
Indeed, yeah, I think it's really interesting to get an insight into your thoughts. So we just get a bit more of an understanding what kind of game we'll be playing when we finally get our hands on Rune Sanctuary.
Yeah, I hope
It has to be fun.
we had a good time on the show. And okay, I think that is all we have for you guys today. Please do keep in mind next stream is going to be on December 30th. So we'll catch you all then. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, all.
Night, everyone.
Bye bye, guys.
Bye. Merry Christmas.
Bye.
I'm not saying it early this time.